All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our first HubSpot New and Now webinar of 2024, where we'll be covering December 2023 updates. That always gets confusing. So all the updates that came out in December, we'll be covering them today, as well as some of those use cases. So if you are new here, this is our New and Now series. So every month, usually the first Wednesday of every month, we gave you a little bit longer with the holiday this month. But every month, usually first Wednesday, we will cover all of the new updates that came out in the month prior. And most importantly, use cases for some of those bigger updates so you can put them to use in your business and start getting value from them right away. So what we have today, and ignore my mutant people. I was playing with HubSpot's image generator. So if you didn't know that, you can actually generate images from HubSpot, the HubSpot's AI tool now. So they get really close with this one, so I went ahead and used it. But today, what we've got on deck for our kind of our exciting new updates, the updates we're going to talk about use cases for. A lot of new reporting features, some increased limits that I'm really excited about. I think a lot of pro customers will be excited about, and some new options for sequences and a couple more that are on this list. And then our next category of updates are what we call small but mighty updates. These are updates that are important for you to know, but the use cases are kind of more obvious. Usually they're just in the name, so we don't spend quite as much time on them, but we want to make sure you know them. Custom object capabilities on mobile is finally here. I know that's been a question I've gotten in months past, so then those people can be excited about that. And then we've got some changes to the Outlook add-in. It's going to be really important for Outlook customers to know, and AI call summaries. So really excited to talk about those. At the end, we'll do Q&A. So the way that we handle questions, usually I have somebody kind of helping me out. I'm flying solo today. Some sickness struck our team. But use the Q&A box with Zoom, and at the end, I will do my best to answer all of those questions. All right, so if you're not familiar with Simple Strat, this is all of the ways that we help companies. But really, in summary, if there's an update that we talk about here today that you want some help or want some more information on, please reach out. If there is an update today that makes you want to upgrade your license and take advantage of those new capabilities, reach out to us. We can help you make sure you're getting the right hub and the right tier of that hub. Or if you're just using HubSpot and feel like you could be using it a little bit better or needs a little cleanup, please reach out. We love to help companies get more value out of their HubSpot portal. All right, so jumping into those exciting new features and use cases, these are the ones that we're going to go through some great use cases for them. If this is the first time you've been here, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping on kind of what you're going to see on the slides. So on the left-hand side, what you're going to see is the name of the update from HubSpot, and then some information about what kind of hubs and how that's available. So the first thing you're going to see is whether that's beta or live. So there's two kinds of betas. There's private betas, which you have to request and get approved to be allowed to use. Public betas are going to be betas that you still have to kind of join the beta. It's still a feature being tested, but you don't have to wait for approval. As soon as you request to join it, you'll get accepted. And then live means it's already live in your portal. Below that, you're going to see what hubs it's available for. So that's Marketing Hub, Sales Hub, all the hubs like this one. And then finally, the tiers. So Starter, Professional, Enterprise, or all of the tiers. So this first update is one that they teased at Inbound, but it's finally live, or at least finally in beta, and you can get access to it. And that's the ability to generate reports with AI. Now, there are a few limitations to this. So as of now, it is only for our single object reports. So we can't do like cross analysis between different object types like contacts and deals or companies and deals or things like that. But for our single object reports, we can use them. You do still get the capability to edit a report after it's been created. So you'll give it a prompt, it'll create the report, and then you'll have full edit capabilities as if you were creating the report from scratch, only you don't have to create the report from scratch. It gives you a nice starting point. And it does require, there's a setting, HubSpot has AI assistant settings. There is an option to turn on or off customer analysis, which basically allows AI to look at your customer data, which is obviously going to be required for reports. So you do have to have that turned on for this to work. And if you enroll in the beta, it will kind of walk you through that when you go to create this for the first time. So some use cases for it, the kinds of reports that you can create. There's all kinds of reports, really as wide as your imagination is, as long as it's a single object report, you can do it. Wanted to give you a couple ideas, a couple of places where you might want to get started. So companies summarized by industry. So we see a report here to the right. One of the things that I really like about this tool is based on your prompt, it's going to give you the visualization type. So line graph, bar graph, a table that it thinks is best based on the question that you answer. You can always change it if you want to, but that's a great starting point. I know that's often a stumbling block for people when they're first starting to create reports is what kind of visualization type should I use? So we ask it companies summarized by industry. Makes a lot of sense to do that by table because there are so many industries available. And so this is what you would get with that prompt. A couple other ideas. So maybe you want to know deals created or closed in a given time period, or how many new leads did we create in a given time period. Maybe we want to get a better idea on rep activities. So we can ask it, we can give it a prompt like number of calls last quarter grouped by user, and it would give you a bar chart of that report. List of stale deals. So a prompt like show me all the deals with no activity in the last X amount of days. Which campaigns drove the most revenue? So again, these reports, what they're going to be great for is, if you're kind of new to the reporting tool, or even if you're not new to the reporting tool and you just kind of want the AI to get you started, right? Select the right properties, select the visualization type, then you can edit whatever filters and add properties if you want to. But a lot of times it does great and you can just hit save and you're good to go. Now, there is one caveat to this, and our recommendation is going to be that, especially once this feature goes out of beta and becomes live, that your company looks at how you're kind of managing your reports. So increase the governance around your reports. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first part of the reason really is that every HubSpot account has a reporting limit. And there are a lot of limits in HubSpot that I very rarely see our clients hit. The reporting limit is probably one of the most common limits that I see our clients hit. We get a lot of clients, especially in the professional tier, that do butt up against that limit of having 100 custom reports. Enterprise, you get 500. And if it's easier for everybody in your portal to create a report, now they don't have to really understand the report builder very much. They can just go in, give an AI prompt, and get that report. That probably means that you're going to end up with more reports in your portal, which means that you're more likely to hit that limit and hit that limit sooner. So what we recommend is first consider adjusting the permissions for who can create reports. Make sure that especially if you've got a large team, you may not want all of your users to be able to create reports. You may want to limit that a bit. And second, increase the frequency of internal report audits. So if you're not doing any internal report audits, start. And if you're doing them maybe annually now, maybe you want to do them once a quarter to make sure that all of the reports that you have in your HubSpot portal are reports that you actually need. There's not duplicate reports and things like that. With great power comes great responsibility in HubSpot. So we do recommend increasing that governance because of this tool. But the good side is you do get much easier report creation with this AI tool. So the next update we'll talk about is a new custom funnel report builder that supports optional stages and company lifecycle stages. So this is if you go to create a custom report, you can choose a funnel report as your report type. And the big change here is that you can have optional stages and that you can report on company lifecycle stages. So what that actually looks like and how you can use it is it's a great way to be able to report on contact lifecycle conversion. So you've been able to do this for a while, sort of. So this is the old way, right? This is what you could do before. And the way that it worked is you could add whatever life cycle stages you wanted to the reports. In this case, we've got marketing qualified lead, sales qualified lead, opportunity, and customer. But the only records, the only contacts that would be included in this report is the contacts that went through every stage. So if you had a contact that started out as a marketing qualified contact, and then the next change was to opportunity and they skipped a sales qualified lead step, then they actually wouldn't be included in this report at all. So what you can do now is for any middle stages, you can't make the first or the last stage optional, but for any middle stage, you can mark them as optional. And so what this is going to say is anybody that became a that was a marketing qualified lead, regardless of what stages they hit later, they'll all be included in the report. And you also see a little bit of a change in your conversion rate metrics over here on the right-hand side. And so the first report, and you can still do this, you can still do the old report where you want to only report on everybody that hit every stage. What that's going to show you is the conversion rate from one step to the next. So 64% of marketing qualified leads made it to sales qualified lead, 4% of sales qualified leads made it to opportunity, and 31.82% of our opportunities became customers in this example. With the new way, when you do mark those stages as optional, what it's going to show you is total conversion. So it's going to show you essentially for every step, what percentage of our marketing qualified leads, so what percentage of the people at that first step made it to the step we're looking at. So in this example, we've got sales qualified lead. It should be about the same. So 63.5 of our marketing qualified lead became sales qualified leads. And then 5% of our marketing qualified leads became opportunity, and 4.6% of our marketing qualified leads became customers. So it's a little bit different conversion metrics. So we're answering different questions depending on the report that we're looking at. And one quick note here, I know that a lot of times that we want to, we really want our reports to answer a question, right? So if you've got a manager that's asking, what percentage of our marketing qualified leads are becoming customers, we'll want to use this new report with this optional thing. If we want to know exactly, from one stage to the next, then we'll want the old version. All right, and then the other new thing here is that we can do this with companies as well. So we used to only be limited to contacts. That was really limited if you were B2B and you were doing account-based marketing. A lot of times you want to see that report based on companies. So now you can actually do this based on company life cycle stages instead of contacts or in addition to contacts. So you can still do both report types, and both of these report types will be new with this change. I did include less stages here because I wanted to show you, you can see this data on contacts as well, but I wanted to show you that HubSpot also gives you a little bit of summary of your data below the report as well. So this is some great data here, our total conversion, our cumulative conversion, how many days on average people take to go through all of these steps that you have identified, and then on average, how many days they spend in each step. So for our ABM people, this is really exciting. And then we can also do this on deals. So again, same thing with contacts. You've been able to do deals for a while. The big change here is being able to have people skip stages. And so you can see, in this case, 27.5% of our people that started deals and our consultation scheduled deal stage went to closed one. So lots of great reporting there. I know we got really deep in numbers there, but for people that are looking at conversion rates and they were really frustrated by having things omitted when they skip stages, I think this is a really exciting update. It's an update they rolled out a little while ago for some of the default like deal waterfall reporting, but now we can do it in that custom funnel report as well. All right. Gonna escape numbers for a while and go into this next change here, which is the ability to have a customized default deal name. So essentially having your deal name populate automatically based on settings you have. This is right now in private beta. It is still very, very new, so you have to request and get approved there. But if you, it doesn't matter what hub or tier, any hub and tier is available to have that requested. And really the exciting thing here is you can now have an automatic naming convention. So you don't have to worry about your salespeople or anybody creating a deal follow some documented naming convention. Now you can have HubSpot do that automatically for you. While it's in private beta, this does only apply to deals that are created from inside of a contact or company record. So you're inside a contact record, you create a deal and it pulls tokens from contacts, or you're inside a company record and it pulls tokens from companies. So it doesn't apply yet, at least in private beta, if you just are in a deal, in the deal pipeline view, for example, and create a deal. But I think that will change as we come out of beta or shortly thereafter. That's my hope, at least. And there's still some great ways to use it here. So one thing is, the default for a long time has been company name -new deal. And I know there's a lot of people, if you go to the HubSpot community, there's a long list of people that are commenting that they did not really like that, right? New deal is obvious. It's a deal in the first stage, just a new deal. Okay, we don't really need to say that in the name. So you can remove that now. You can also include the business unit in a deal name. So if you're an enterprise and you're using business units to manage different brands, you can pull that in. So what you can do is you can combine any text you want with any personalization token. So any property on the contact or company record. Include the city in deal name, include the industry in the deal name, include information that's necessary or helpful for integration. So if the deal name needs to be something specific to either to support integration or because you're going to view that data in an integrated software application and you want that deal name to mean something for you in that context, you can do that here. So these are just a few examples, but again, pretty much any naming convention you have now, as long as you can base that based on properties, you would be able to do that with this private beta. All right, so this is going to be something specific to people who are using Shopify and HubSpot. But I will say the reason that I included in here, even though that is kind of a narrow segment, is because I do think that this is sort of a preview of what HubSpot is looking to do for companies that use e-commerce. I think we'll see the features that they're rolling out with the Shopify integration. I think we'll see it expand beyond just Shopify. The reason I think that is because you may have already noticed some of these object types, even if you aren't using the Shopify integration. So the update specifically to the Shopify integration is contact and product sync is now two ways, and they added a one-way sync for orders and carts. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. You also get better error reporting. Now, one caveat to this is HubSpot right now is recommending that if you have the old Shopify integration, that you don't turn that off and switch to the new Shopify integration because they don't have anything set up yet to avoid that creating a bunch of duplicate data for your historical activities. They are working on kind of a migration experience from the old one to the new one. And they've just said that information will be coming out soon. So if you're currently using the old Shopify integration, what my recommendation is to reach out to your support team or your customer service manager if you know that contact specifically. Tell them that you're interested in this and make sure they notify you when that migration experience comes out. So a couple things that make this exciting is one, so essentially carts, what carts are going to be, when carts are being created in HubSpot is when you have an abandoned cart in Shopify. So that's how it works, is it takes your abandoned checkouts in Shopify, syncs them over to a new object in HubSpot called cart, which then allows you to not only see and report on those abandoned carts, but also trigger workflows. So you can now have a cart type workflow. And anytime a cart's created, it's going to be because it's an abandoned cart. So you can have a trigger that the object was created. And then you can send emails, SMS, all the things that you're used to sending out in HubSpot workflows, internal notifications. So you can start to work on recovering more of those abandoned carts, and you can do all of that from inside of HubSpot. So you can more easily report on the performance of those efforts. We can also view and report on our order pipeline. So rather than syncing all of those orders to deals, which wasn't really built for e-commerce, that's kind of the only way to handle that today. Now we've got this new way of orders. And so what it is a one-way sync from Shopify to HubSpot. We can still see a pipeline, and we map that pipeline to our stages in Shopify. And we can see all these orders. We can report on these orders. We can add custom properties to these orders. But a couple of differences is you can't manually move orders between pipelines, which is actually a good thing, right? Because we want to make sure that the data in HubSpot supports exactly where that order is in Shopify based on all the automation that Shopify has. So essentially, this is an equivalent to deals, but more customized for e-commerce, more customized for that integration. All right. Okay. So customized reminder emails and meeting scheduling pages. I know that I've been using HubSpot's meeting links for a long time, and this has been something that I've been like super frustrated with since I started using it. Is you have to use the HubSpot mandated reminders, but no more. So now it's still in beta, but I think this one will go live really soon. Essentially anybody that's using the meetings link has access to this. And what you can do now is those automated reminder emails that you have set up to go out, however long before your meeting happens, you can actually customize the text of those reminder emails You can see the example here, as you expect with HubSpot. You can put whatever custom text in, but you can also put personalization tokens from the contact, from the company, from that meeting. So lots of great use cases here. Some reasons why you might want to use this. There are a lot, but the first one is probably the most obvious, right? Being able to customize the text of those reminder emails in your brand voice or in your personal voice without having it sound quite so automated. You can also, give an example or give a reminder right before the call that includes the link that's stored in that meeting location token. So you don't have to rely on people, scrambling back to their calendar to get that link. You get a nice handy reminder right before the call. You can send out meeting agendas. You can send out pre-meeting prep work. So if there's something you want that meeting participant to do prior to the meeting, you can put that information in there for them. As well as pre-meeting materials. So maybe you want to send a case study in advance, or you want to send a product brochure in advance or something like that. You would be able to do that here as well. Custom properties for workflows. So this, I know if you are an admin with a portal that has a lot of workflows, organization of those workflows has been a challenge. They have a folder set up, but a workflow can only be in one folder. So this is a change that HubSpot rolled out to lists a couple months ago, and it is now here for workflows as well. It's already live, so if you have access to workflows, you do have access to custom properties as well as custom views. So you can add custom properties, but we can also say custom views, which is essentially like folders, but now a workflow can be in multiple folders or multiple views based on those properties. So I will say editing these properties for workflows that are already created is a little bit clunky. What you have to do is in the view where your list of workflows is, you hit the check mark next to it, and then you've got an edit button that'll show up on the top of the table. And that's how you'll edit it for existing properties. Creating the properties, creating the saved views, that's very easy. That's just like any other object. So exactly how you would expect in HubSpot. But editing them for workflow that's already created is a little bit wonky there. So this image here actually shows that. So we can see this abandoned cart recovery workflow that's checked, and the edit button at the top of that table is where you would go to edit those properties for that workflow. So a couple ways that you could use this. First, we'll start with why you would use it, right? So it's a little bit more reliable than naming conventions. We talked about some of the shortcomings of naming conventions a little bit when we talked about the deal naming. But one, it's enforceable, so you don't have to worry about whether or not users are actually using your naming conventions. When you create a workflow, you can have your custom properties be required, so they can't create a workflow without actually entering the information for those properties. Two, it can eliminate misspellings and inconsistencies, so you can have drop-down properties and things like that. And it's not relying on your users to remember what the naming convention is or to refer back to documentation about your naming conventions every time they create a workflow. So some ideas for ways to use this. Again, there are pretty much an infinite number of ways that you might want to use this, but some ideas that we're really excited about. One, just a simple checkbox or a Boolean check of whether or not a workflow needs testing. So one of the things that we do for our clients a lot is some regular testing for kind of mission critical workflows. So workflows that are related to, maybe there's a specific workflow that handles a vast majority of leads, right? And you want to make sure, you want to test that on a regular basis to make sure that it's still working properly. People are getting the emails and notifications and all those things that they would want. There's an integration-based workflow that requires some regular testing. So this would allow you to very easily create a saved view of all of those workflows that you want to test every month, and you could just run through them. These holidays blocked, right? So not there are quite a few holidays, at least in the US and elsewhere as well, that the date isn't the same every year. And so if the workflow involves sending communications, emails or SMS to customers, it's a good best practice to make sure that you're going into your workflow settings and making sure those emails and SMS messages aren't being sent on those days. We have to remember to do that every year. And it can be difficult to remember if you've got a lot of workflows, which workflows you have to edit and which ones you don't. So this would, again, be a great, just simple checkbox and a saved view to be able to know all of those. Go in maybe this time of year and update them for the rest of the year. Type. So maybe you've got different workflow types. You have some examples, or maybe you've got, CRM admin workflows that are messing with properties and date stamps and things like that. Internal communications, external communications, however you think about types of workflows for your company. business functions, this is a sales-related workflow versus a marketing-related workflow. Campaign names, we've got a workflow associated to a campaign, making sure that you can easily organize workflows by the campaigns they're associated with. Place in the buyer's journey. So if you kind of approach your marketing workflows from a very buyer journey centric focus, this is an awareness workflow, this is a decision workflow, etc. And then estimated sunset date. So this is one that I really like to use on lists since that came out. But if you've got a workflow that you only need for a certain amount of time, then you can put an estimated sunset date as a property, and then you can sort by that. So you can delete those workflows as they reach their sunset date and just kind of keep your list of workflows nice and concise and well managed. All right, this one I am extremely excited about for all of our clients that are on professional. So there are a couple updates to object and property limits. I'm going to get really technical, then I'm going to talk about how you can use this. So the first kind of chunk of this is that there are new limits. And so this table kind of shows you what the limits are. So the first change is custom object records. So the amount of records you can save as custom objects. So it's only custom objects are only available in Enterprise, and you get a higher limit if you have Operations Hub or if you don't. So if you have Operations Hub, you used to be able to create up to 1 million custom objects across all of the custom objects you had defined. They added essentially 500,000, so you do 1.5 million. If you don't have Operations Hub, but you do have any other Enterprise Hub, used to be 500,000, and now it's 1 million. This is the total doesn't change regardless of how many hubs you have. So if you have Sales and Marketing Hub, it's not like this limit doubles. It is still the same. So if you have just Sales Hub, it's 1 million. If you have Sales and Marketing Hub, still 1 million. So I want to make sure that's clear. And then the change that I'm more excited about is calculated properties. So calculated properties, we're going to talk about the use cases for those here in a second. But up until now, you could only have 5 at the professional level, which really, really limited what you could do with them. And I think there's a lot of great ways to use them. And so I'm really excited about this. You can now have 25. So they 5x'd the amount of calculated properties you can have on the professional level. The other change that's part of this is HubSpot has added add-on products. So if you hit the limits, the increased limits for the objects that are listed there, or the old limits for custom properties, you can actually choose to purchase an add-on from HubSpot to increase those limits. So custom objects add-on already existed, but they increased the increments that are included in the add-on. So every add-on, you add up to 10 objects you can define and up to 1 million records. That add-on is only available if you already have an Enterprise Hub. Custom properties is available if you have a professional or Enterprise Hub of any kind, and it adds 500 custom properties for every incremental add-on you purchase there. And then calculated properties, you do have to have Enterprise or higher, but if you have Enterprise or higher, then you can add 25 calculated properties at a time. So the one that I'm really excited about, like I said, is the addition of additional calculated properties for professional. So if you're already using calculated properties, you already know how powerful they were. We find that this is a pretty underutilized tool in the professional level, and it's not one we talk about a lot just because you can only do 5. But now I'm going to talk about it a lot because there is just so much capability, especially since they added some formula capabilities to them a few months ago. So I'm going to walk you through just a few use cases. This is one of those where there are almost endless use cases, but these are ones that we've implemented for clients that the clients have really liked. So this one is pretty simple. We already know a close date based on the deal, and that format is just kind of a standard numerical date format. This particular client was using a workflow to add that date to a deal name. But it got really messy when they're looking at a list of deals and they're all in that numerical format. So what this calculated property does is it looks at that date and changes it to a format that's much more legible, especially once that's put in a deal name. So you can see the sample output in this red box here. It just says the kind of the short code for the month and the year rather than what it would be by default, which is all of these numbers. Another example, I won't get into this one too far, but this client had a kind of a calculated amount property on a deal, and it was based on a lot of values and conditions that they had stored on deal properties. And so this is a pretty complex formula that calculated an amount for them that they could use for a variety of things across their team. So these can get pretty complex. Average deal amount. So one of the ways that I put this webinar together and get all these use cases is I kind of scour LinkedIn and see how other people are using them as well as how we're using them for clients. So this one, credit goes to Christina Gillenwater from her LinkedIn. She put a nice video together about how she's using calculated properties to get the average deal amount. So that you can just choose average as the type. You can choose an associated object of deals, and then it asks for the amount. And what it'll do is just very easily for you, lots of things are happening in the background. It's looking at all of the deals associated to that contact, or you can do this with a company as well, looking at that amount property and then putting in this new calculated property, the average of those. So again, lots of capabilities here. Just a few more examples of ways you could use calculated properties. Time between two date stamps. So if you're date stamping anything and you want to measure the time between them, that's a really common use case for calculated properties. Sales commission calculations is also a very common request and much more capable now that you have more calculated properties. Deal profitability. So if you've got a field where you're inputting the costs of a product in a deal, you could take the revenue you're making from that deal minus those costs and get deal profitability. So lots and lots of ways to use these calculated properties. So if you're at your limit of 5 on Pro, really encourage you to go in and see how these calculated properties could offer more value. Or if you have never used calculated properties and you're on professional enterprise, I would definitely recommend that you take a look at them. All right, this is going to be a big one for Sales and Service Hub users on Pro or Enterprise that are using sequences. And if you're on those and you're not using sequences, really should start. Sequences are a really, really powerful tool in HubSpot. So the change here, I know there's a lot of text on the screen. The change here is really very simple. When you would send a sequence or start a sequence automatically. So in Enterprise, you can start a sequence automatically from a workflow. In Professional, you can start a sequence automatically when somebody either submits a form or views a specific page on your website. So not quite as advanced as Enterprise, but still have some availability to start a sequence automatically. That's not a change. You've been able to do that for a while. But what you were limited to is you had to set a specific user. So you had to go into a dropdown and say, okay, I want this to be sent from Tyler. And that was pretty limiting. What the change is you can now say, I want this to be sent from the owner of the contact record this is going to. So small change with big impact for the effectiveness of your sequences and ease of administrating these automated sequences. So if you were doing this before, the way that you were doing it, the only way that you could do it was and this only applies to Enterprise, but you were in a workflow and you had a lot of if branches. So if the contact owner was Will, send the sequence from Will. If it was Tyler, send it from Tyler. If it was Ali, send it from Ali. If you had a big team, you had to create all these if branches, and then if somebody gets somebody leaves and you get a new salesperson, etc., you would go in and edit this. So this is what that looked like in the old version. In the new version, we don't need any if branches. We just say we want it to be sent from the contact owner, one action, and we're good to go. And the great thing too is if you've got multiple owner properties, so maybe you have an SDR property and an AE property, you can select what contact owner property you want to use for this. So awesome way to eliminate a bunch of if branches. And so if you've got those today, recommend that you switch them over. Or if that was what was preventing you from doing automated sequences, now you can do that much more easily. And then just some great use cases for automated sequences that you would want to be sent from the contact owner. So maybe you want marketing to support the sales team's initial outreach or initial prospecting by helping get these people enrolled in sequences. Now they can set up automations to do that and make sure that they're sent by the correct salesperson that prospect or lead would be assigned to if they convert. Timely engagement or meeting requests from the correct salesperson after a lead views a specific page on a website. This is one example that you can do with Pro. So they're looking at a product page or a pricing page. We want to hit them with a sequence, and we want that to be from the salesperson that would be assigned to them. Maybe they've already talked to that salesperson in the past, for example. And then it's not just for sales, right? So maybe you've got current customers that you want to send a sequence to for onboarding or upselling, and have that be sent from an account manager or a customer success manager. You can do that as well. All right. So I know we talked about a lot of use cases. We've got a lot of our small but mighty updates, which I think emphasis on the mighty this month. They are going to be really, really important and impactful changes for people. Just the use cases are a little bit more straightforward. So we'll go through these a little bit faster. I've got two requests for you before I jump into this. So at the end of this webinar, there's going to be a survey, just very, very quick. I think it's like two or three questions. So please do fill out that survey. Helps us make sure that we're giving you guys the best webinars and the best education that we can. And then the second request is, if these are valuable to you, please do share it if you've got colleagues or peers or neighbors that use HubSpot. Please do share it out. We're trying to make this really helpful resource for as many people as possible. All right, without further ado, we'll get into our small but mighty updates. So the first one is the ability to summarize a record in HubSpot. So summarize a record in HubSpot via ChatSpot. So this is the start of seeing more ChatSpot actions available within our HubSpot portal. So ChatSpot is HubSpot's AI tool. It lives kind of separate today. I think that will continue to be the case, but I think we'll see continued tighter and tighter integration here. So as this little video shows, what you can do is you can go into any record, contact, company, deal, etc., and hit actions, and then summarize in ChatSpot. It'll open up ChatSpot for you and give you a little summary. Today, what that gives you is it gives you the date that record was created, who owns that, quick summary of important properties, and then a quick summary of notes and engagements for that record. This one is one that you may have already seen if you use HubSpot's help. So HubSpot's help used to live in the bottom right-hand corner. It was a little purple help icon. It's moved to the top, but it's a little question mark. So if you were looking for help and you saw that purple disappear, HubSpot help did not go away. It just moved for you. And then how you get help has also changed. So it's going to prompt you to ask a question first. I'm a little bit mixed about how I feel about that, but it is what it is. So you ask a question. What it's going to do is it's going to populate knowledge base articles based on your question. And then on that same screen is where you're going to see the ability to chat into support, get the phone number, email support. So you do have to ask a question before you'll be able to do something like chat support. But the nice thing is they will surface those knowledge base articles based on your question. So it's possible that you'll get your question answered much more quickly without having to rely on a response from the support team. We can also now add additional emails and domains in bulk via import. So HubSpot for a long time has, at least for a little while now, has allowed you to store multiple email addresses for a contact or multiple domain names for a company, but you couldn't import them. You had to edit that afterwards, otherwise you'd create a bunch of duplicates. So what it now allows you to do is when you're importing based on a CSV or an Excel file, you can have a column that has additional emails or additional domains, and you can map that to those additional emails and additional domains in HubSpot. So if you've got, like this example, if you've got some contacts that have maybe 3 emails, a personal email, a business email, or another personal email, you store their primary one in the email column, the rest of them in an additional email column, and you can import all of them into the same record very easily in HubSpot. Big changes to business updates. So this is in private beta, and I think we'll see this kind of grow a bit before it comes out live. But right now, if you're using business units, and just a quick recap, business units are a tool that's available on enterprise for companies that are managing multiple brands in HubSpot. What you would have to do is, if you were looking at your email tool, you'd have to select the business unit there. And then if you bounce from there to landing pages, you'd have to select the business unit there. And then if you wanted to see a list of contacts associated with the business unit, you'd have to go to contacts and adjust it there. What this private beta is allowing you to do is it's allowing you to just click on your company name in the top right-hand corner, and you'll see business units in that dropdown. You select the business unit you're working from, and then all across HubSpot, that business unit will be applied. So if you go from email to landing pages to contacts, it will keep that context to the business unit you chose and only show you things related to that business unit. So much more streamlined experience for the companies that are using those business units in HubSpot. Customer journey analytics can now track phone calls. So customer journey analytics reports are Awesome reports. Unfortunately, they're only available in enterprise. It's very similar to the funnel reports, but it gives you a lot more touch points that you can choose from. And so they allow you to say, this is the customer journey we want to monitor. How are people converting from one stage to the next between all of these different touch points that we can have? Calls did not used to be included in that. Now they are. So we can see how calls are impacting your conversion rates and your success across your marketing and sales efforts. Edit and autosave properties in record middle column cards. So again, lots of HubSpot words there. As you may know, hopefully you do, HubSpot has had the ability to edit your middle column for a while. You can edit your overview tab in Pro, you can add tabs in Enterprise. And one of the things you can do is you can show specific properties there. So this is really awesome for enterprise because maybe you have, you want to show a tab only for your sales team and you want the properties to show up that are related to that. But it's available in Pro and things like that too with just the overview tab. The kind of limitation you had before was it would show those properties, but you couldn't edit them. So if you wanted to edit the properties, you had to find them in the left-hand sidebar. Often they were in the left-hand sidebar, so you go view all properties and then edit them. It's a huge pain. Now, any property that you have shown in that middle column tab, you can actually edit. And unlike the left-hand sidebar, it will actually auto-save. So you don't have to edit and then hit save. It will save as you're making changes, which I think is awesome. So this example here, you see a pipeline view and you see some properties there. This would allow you to just change the pipeline right there in the card without having to go somewhere else to do that. So just adding some efficiency for your team. And this one, anybody that's using custom objects, you have to be an enterprise to use it. There's been this really frustrating limitation where you could create custom objects and work with custom objects on the desktop version of HubSpot, but as soon as you went over to your phone, you couldn't do anything with them. We're still not to where I'd like to be, where you can see lists of custom objects and all of that. But what you can do on both iOS and Android now is you can open up a contact, a company, a deal, and you can edit the custom objects that are associated to that. So you can associate new custom objects to it. You can edit the custom objects that are associated to it. So this is a quick screenshot. We're in a contact view of Claire, and pets is a custom object. And you can see you can hit that plus icon and add a pet to that record. And you can edit some things about those custom objects. LinkedIn app mentions are available in social monitoring. So if you are on Marketing Hub Pro or Enterprise, you probably already know you've got the capability to schedule social posts and get social analytics. You've been able to do social monitoring for a while via Twitter, formerly Twitter. Now that Twitter is not quite as popular as it used to be, HubSpot's expanding this. And so what you can do now is you can monitor mentions on LinkedIn of your company record. It is specific to your company record. As of right now, you can't monitor, mentions of executives at your team, for example. But for us, for example, we can monitor all mentions of Simple Strat. So anytime Simple Strat is tagged to LinkedIn, that would show up in a feed inside of HubSpot, and we can engage directly from this feed, so we don't have to jump over to LinkedIn to engage. So just a great way to kind of keep an eye on people talking about you on social media, and also be able to engage them in a relevant way. Okay, this one is very, very technical. I'm not going to go through it all. If you have questions on this, I highly, highly recommend reaching out to either us offline or HubSpot support directly. This is something HubSpot support should be able to help you with. There used to be two different add-ons you could download if you were using Microsoft Outlook. So if you're using Gmail, nothing's changing. That extension is the same. But if you're using Outlook, you had two different options. And the way that I always thought about it is the old one and the new one. But one of them was called VSTO. I don't even know what the acronym stands for, to be honest with you. But it was related to a specific type of add-in that Microsoft allowed people to create. And what's happening is Microsoft is no longer supporting that type of admin. So HubSpot is no longer supporting their add-in. So HubSpot's no longer supporting that add-in. So HubSpot has already had a different type of add-in, the new add-in that's available. And now if you Google or go to a knowledge base article or anything about Outlook add-ins, the only one they'll show you is the new version. So if you have updated your Outlook, or plan to update your Outlook and you're using the old add-in, just note that you'll need to delete that add-in and add the new one. So again, the actual going through that process, if you have an Outlook admin for your team, and then reach out to HubSpot support, they'll be able to help you through that process. I do want to be clear that everywhere online, HubSpot calls this their web add-in. It does still work on the desktop version of Outlook. So it shouldn't really be a big change to how you use HubSpot and how you track emails to HubSpot and all of that. But just note that if you update Outlook, you may have issues with your HubSpot add-in if you're still using the old one. If you don't upload Outlook and you keep that old add-in, it should keep working for you. But HubSpot is no longer going to support it. So chances are it's going to break eventually. So my recommendation is really just to have everybody figure out what add-in you're using today. And if you're not using the new one, go ahead and switch to the new one, because that's very clearly where everything is heading. And then we've got two more updates for you. So this one I'm really, really excited about: AI assistant call summaries. So anytime you have a call that you are recording in HubSpot, you can now just click a button and it will generate a short, one paragraph summary of that call. So this is going to be really, really awesome for teams that maybe you've seen some of those AI add-ons to Zoom and things like that, you're in a meeting with somebody, you see that little AI note taker pop up. And you maybe had been jealous about that. Well, HubSpot's now started to give you some of the features that they're getting with those tools, starting with these call summaries. So it's available on Pro or Enterprise, essentially for anybody that has calling, which is going to be the sales or service hubs. And then last update. So I don't know about you, when GDPR came out and we had to put up the cookie consent banners, things like that, you probably saw the amount of website data that you were able to track. My guess is it decreased quite a bit if you were following those GDPR standards, because they had to actually click a button for you to be able to have their cookie on their computer and be able to see their website data. What HubSpot's allowing you to do now is it's allowing you to kind of reverse that. So you still have a cookie consent banner, but it's an opt-out banner. So instead of only being able to use the cookies and see that website tracking data when they click a button, you'll be able to see it for everybody who hasn't clicked the button to opt out. And you can specify this by country in terms of which banner they see. So in countries that have higher privacy standards, like in Europe, where you need to follow GDPR, sorry, my dog, if you can hear him, is really excited about opt-out cookie banners, apparently. But you can have these the opt-in banners in GDPR countries, so all those European countries, and then in the US and any countries that haven't adopted those stricter privacy standards, at least not yet, you can have this opt-out banner. So hopefully a nice uptick in the amount of data that you can get and around your website data and things like that. All right, so that is all of our updates. I really do hope that you join us soon. So again, I mentioned we do these updates every month. So our next one is coming up on February 7th. We'll talk about all of the updates that are coming out in January. And HubSpot's product team has not disappointed me yet. Every month we have a ton of updates. As you can see, even in the holiday month of December, we had a lot. And then we also have what we call our Flywheel Fuel series webinars, which is where my business partner and founder of HubSpot, SimpleStrat, talks about the types of marketing and sales activities that HubSpot is used for and how to do them in ways that are going to increase effectiveness and drive growth for your company. So on February 21st, she's going to be talking about websites specifically. So it's going to be a little bit of website best practices and how you drive conversions from websites in 2024, and also a little bit about how to do that on HubSpot. So if you've been thinking about, maybe migrating your website over to HubSpot CMS Hub, or maybe you've done that recently and you're wondering about how to get the most out of that, there'll be a little bit of that in this webinar as well. So definitely recommend checking out both of these webinars. All of our webinars are free. You can register for any of our webinars at simplestrat.com/webinars. And then last but not least, before I open it up to questions, is what I recommend for everybody for next steps. So the first thing, we talked about a ton of updates. We will send out the recording in a couple days here. What I recommend is identify one or two updates that your team could really benefit from right now, and then decide how you're going to implement them. So one way is to get our help. You can book a free consultation with our team to get more information about the update or how to implement it at simplestrat.com/consult. then you can always DIY it as well. You can go and view all the product updates by clicking on your company name in the top right-hand corner and click on product updates. You'll see them there. Click on an update. It's going to have more information about that. It's going to have a link to join and request the beta if it is in beta. And then oftentimes there's knowledge base article links as well that walk you through setting that up if that's something you want to do. And as always, we recommend measuring the impact of that so you can report that back to your team and also really see the value of those updates. All right. Thank you all for sticking with me. I know we had a lot of updates. We always go through those fast and furiously, but we want to make sure that we cover them all. I do see quite a few questions in here, so we will dive in here.